Another specter of war is haunting millions of people across the Middle East, and a number of countries are waiting for the response of Iranian authority to the assassination of Ismail Hania, the Palestinian leader. It is speculated that Iran is militarily very powerful and it has also proxies. But there are critics who believe that if there is an all out war, then Iran is going to suffer a lot. There's no doubt that Iran has proxies in Yemen, like the Houthi rebels. It also has Hezbollah in Lebanon. Besides, it has a lot of supporters in Syria as well. It is believed that if Iran starts a war with Israel, then these proxies are likely to be used against Israel. But on the other hand, the history of the Middle East tells us that whenever there was a war between Israel and other countries, it is the Jewish state that has always dominated the battleground. It defeated the Arabs in 1948 and again in the 1967 war. It again defeated Arab countries. In fact, during that war, within no time, it destroyed the air force of Syria, Jordan, and Egypt as well. Beside capturing Arab territories and expanding its geographical boundaries, in fact, occupying Palestinian territories during the War of 1967, forcing some Arab states to recognize Israel in one way or another way. So, militarily, Israel is considered far more powerful than Iran. Israel is not a declared nuclear power, but there are defense analysts who believe that the Zionist state has around 100 or 150 nuclear weapons, but it hasn't declared itself to be a nuclear state. Uh, in case of any war, the United States and its Western allies are likely to support Israel militarily, morally, and diplomatically. In fact, the United States and other Western countries have already started making arrangements to support Israel in case of any military incursion or military invasion by Iran. And if Iran uses its proxies, then it might give an opportunity to Israel to say that it is surrounded by all enemies and that a number of countries are trying to exterminate the Jewish state, which might give an impression to the world that Israel, it's not only Israel that is jeopardized, but in reality, the Jewish people who have been jeopardized and they are on the verge of extermination. So the world is going to support Israel in that condition. And Israel's air force is especially quite advanced. In addition to that, it is technologically advanced as well. It is not only a big military power of the Middle East, but if you make a list of 20 top countries that are militarily powerful, then Israel would definitely fall in that category. Its intelligence is also one of the best in the world, from the Nazi officers who were involved in Holocaust to the attackers of Munich. Uh, they traced and hunted down those people, killing them or eliminating them in different part of the world. And they also killed allegedly a number of Hamas leaders outside their territory. They have killed Iranian scientists, and Iran felt helpless. And this assassination of Ismail Hania has put a question mark of the security arrangements that were put in place for Ismail Hania, but it has also exposed Iran's vulnerability. Uh, in reality, before that, Iran also suffered other losses and it did not offer any effective retaliation. For instance, it's one of its top commanders uh, was killed in Syria some times ago, and Iran, in response to that, unleashed a barrage of drones and other type of air attacks, but they did not do much harm. Most of them were intercepted in Jordan and other countries' airspace, and it did not do much damage to Israel. On the other hand, Israel was in a position uh, to damage Iranian Air Force in retaliation to this attack, and it went to the extent of claiming that it could have also targeted Iranian nuclear reactor, but that it showed restraint. There are defense analysts who believe that if there is an all out war, it will create an impression in the Western world that Israel's security and that of the Jewish people has been jeopardized. Therefore, Israel might go to any extent in using this opportunity. It might destroy Iranian nuclear reactors or eliminate Iranian nuclear facility. In that case, Iran would suffer a lot. Then inside Iran, there's a lot of opposition to the theocratic leaders, and there are nationalist and sectarian fault lines inside Iran that might erupt in case of any conflict. Naturally, Israel and Western world would like to throw their support behind those who oppose the government of the clerics, and in that case, Iran could face a scenario of Yugoslavia or Balkanization process. It might see the Balkanization of the Islamic country. So, in case of the conflict, Western allies would definitely support Israel, but as far as Iran is concerned, it's not likely to get any support from Russia because has already been involved in Ukraine, so it might not be in a position to throw any support at all. And this is also interesting that Moscow also enjoys good ties with Tel Aviv. In fact, the Soviet Union was among the few countries that recognized Israel soon after its creation, believing that it was fighting the British colonial empire at that time. Therefore, it did have the right to self determination. And after the creation of Israel, it has had very good ties with Washington and other Western allies. As far as another ally of Iran, China, is concerned, it has not been involved in conflicts. In reality, one of the secrets of China's success is its focus on economic development, and it did not carry out any military intervention, barring a few uh, uh, during the Korean War and later on in Africa. Most of the time, China has focused on its internal issues, and in reality, China might benefit in case of any conflicts, because in case of any conflict, more sanctions would be imposed on Iran, and it would be forced to sell it gas and oil at extremely discounted rate. Had Iran's relations been normal with the Western world, China would not have secured 25-year agreements of gas from the Islamic countries. So China has greatly benefited from the conflict in Ukraine, and it because it forced Russia to completely depend on China, and it struck a number of deals with Russia for gas and other supplies. And similarly, it has also struck deals with Iran because of the sanctions. So the more sanctions are there, the better it will be for China in terms of economy and in terms of economic rewards. So, if there is an all out war, there is a strong possibility, according to defense analysts, that Iran will suffer a lot. It will not only suffer militarily, but it might witness a lot of destruction as well, as far as is its capability of retaliating against Israel is concerned. That has not been effective so far. A number of its scientists have been assassinated allegedly by Israeli agents, but it has not been able to respond. And Houthi rebels and Hezbollah have not been able to do much damage to the Jewish state either. There are speculations that if Israel uh, does occupy Lebanon and if its troops are stationed there, then in that case there could be a guerrilla war which could do damage to Israel to some extent. But in case of an all-out war, Israel, it is believed, is capable of dealing with multiple fronts, because in the past, during 1948 and 1967, another conflict, it was capable of dealing with multiple Arab states. So at this time, Iran would be alone. Arab states, Saudi Arabia, and other rich Gulf states are not going to throw their support behind Iran. And Houthi rebels and Hezbollah would not be able to cause a lot of damage. Of course, they would do damage, but they would not be able to cause massive damage to Israeli interests or Israeli installation.